Welcome back to the continuation of volume 14 part 1. Now we're on volume 14 part 2, and I left off where I said that after I broke up with this man, I had it to say that he is in the right profession of being a politician. Okay, but just to backtrack a little, before we reach to that stage of us breaking up, we're back into 2020. Just to let you guys know, we were going out for 4 years. So I was in a relationship with this man for 4 years. Yes. Also, I did not mention that this person that I was dating, so this politician guy who was an ex-soldier in the British Army, he was a African man. So remember, in the first instance, I told you guys of the starting of me dating African guy, and this happened when I just moved to the UK in 2011. All right. So after I broke up with that African guy in 2011, I did not go back out with another African guy until the year of 2020. That's when I started going out with African guys. Yet, so he was another African guy. And as I said, we went into a whole deep relationship for 4 years. And I started to get acquainted with the culture, everything. And you guys will see how things started to progress. But before that, I also wanted to mention, remember when I told you guys about me telling a lie with the other guy that I was talking to in the old city that I had moved from in 2020 about being pregnant? All right. And remember, I said to you guys, what goes around comes around. So this is how the situation of how the spiritual realm works. What goes around comes around. So remember, I did a fake abortion when I lied to that same guy about being pregnant. Now, in 2020, after dating this new politician guy, I fell pregnant. This time for real. Yes, guys. Now I fell pregnant for this African politician guy. And then this was now September of 2020. So that same year, I found out I was pregnant in September 2020. But before I realized that I was pregnant, I remember being at work and he was on a business trip back home in Africa. And I was at work and I was there. I did not even have any clue that I was pregnant because I wasn't having any symptom. I didn't feel any way. I felt normal. Remember, I'm still, on my fitness journey. I'm still fit and slim and trim and all of that, I was just feeling good in my body still, until one day another security that was working at my workplace turned to me and said to me, "You're pregnant." And I said, "No. How can you tell me that I'm pregnant? Like, I don't feel pregnant." She said, "Yeah, you're pregnant and it is a boy." And I said, "What?" So she creeped me out. I said, I'm not even going to listen to her. She was an African woman and she was a security as well at my workplace. And I was doing night shifts as well. The next day, after I came off from work in the morning, I called my best friend as I was on my way home. And I said, somebody at my workplace tell me that I'm pregnant, and that cannot be. How can they know that I'm pregnant? That's just not right. Like, how would they know that? So she said people can have an inclination. They can sense things. Like, of course, people have spiritual gifts. This was a part of her spiritual gift. She felt that I was pregnant. Anyways, my best friend said, "Shay, there's nothing wrong with going to find out if you're pregnant in it." Because I said, "Yeah, but I'm not pregnant because I'm not feeling any form of sickness. I wasn't feeling any morning sickness. I felt good. I felt normal." And imagine, I went and she said, "Shay, there's nothing wrong with just finding out." And I said, "All right, cool." I remember going into the pharmacy. I was so scared and I said, "All right, let me buy a few of them just in case the other one is not reading properly." She said, "Yeah, buy a few of them." So anyways, I bought a few of them and I went home. And I was so scared to take these tests because I was thinking, no, I'm not pregnant. I did not want to believe I was pregnant. I done the test. Lo and behold, I was pregnant. After the third test, The first one, it came inconclusive. And I was like, no, I don't think I'm pregnant. No, no, no. Then my best friend said, Shay, just to use the rest of them. Done the second one, it came up with a thin line. Both of them came up, but one of them was faint. Then I used the third one. Both line came up bright, 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 bright. I was like, oh my days, I am pregnant. And I started screaming to my best friend. I took the picture of the pregnancy test and I sent it to my best friend. I said, I am actually pregnant. What am I going to do? She said, Shay, just relax, relax. Oh my God, she started screaming for me. Because of course, she has her children. So, it's time for me to get into the bandwagon of having my children too. Our child. So remember, I told you that my African politician ex, who was my partner at the time, was in his country on a business trip. Yes, I was not hearing from him as such because he made this excuse of, there's no signal. You can barely get any connections where he was at because he kept moving up to many different places. He was hardly at home where he had his Wi-Fi services. So I just said, okay, cool. I took what he said because, of course, this man was very good at his lie. Remember, I told you guys that he was a compulsive, pathological liar. So imagine after taking this test. So remember, I was not feeling any form of way before, prior to me taking the pregnancy test. I was feeling good. I was feeling normal. As I said, slim and trim, it just feel good. My mental state was like at its best, All of a sudden, after taking those tests, instantly the pregnancy symptoms come on to me. I started feeling sick. My bust started feeling tender. So I started feeling everything that a pregnant woman would start to feel. And I asked my best friend, I said, why am I feeling this way? And she said, Shay, it's just the normal pregnancy feeling. And remember, she is used to being pregnant, so she understands the symptoms. Now, this was my first time actually being pregnant. So I was going through the notion and the motion, and I did not know. As I said, I was getting acquainted with the whole African culture and understanding the background of things. And I really loved this man. Like, I was falling deep for this man to the point where, as I said before, like, I had no form of feelings again for the other guy that I fell in love with, that I lied to about being pregnant, that I met at my old workplace from the city that I moved from in 2019. Remember that guy, right? That I took the money from to do a fake abortion. Yes. I started losing feeling for him because remember I said I'd fallen in love with him? Yeah. He was no more on my agenda because this African politician guy took over all my mental state and my emotions. Is just all about him at the time. So after 2 weeks of me not hearing from this man, the fetus was growing more and more. And then, of course, almost 2 weeks, I heard from him. I remember one day, all of a sudden, the baby was causing me to turn against my African politician ex, who was my partner at the time. Like, all of a sudden, if I see the man's pictures, if I hear his voice notes, or if I hear him on the phone, I feel like I want to throw up. Like, I felt sick to my stomach of this man. All of a sudden, I was wondering, where is this feelings coming from? Like, why? And I started to be worried because I'm thinking, oh my days. And then I remember my best friend said sometimes your emotions can be all over the place because your hormones are changing and it can cause you to turn against your partner. So that was exactly what was happening. I was turning against him. And I remember I had to delete his pictures from my phone. I had to delete his voice messages because if I ever see his picture, and I had to archive everything, all of his messages as well. I had to archive it so when I open my WhatsApp, I don't see his picture or anything pop up onto my screen. It was that bad. Yes, I was throwing up everything as soon as I hear his voice. And I was worried because I really wanted to tell him what was going on, because at this point he still did not know that I was pregnant because I wasn't hearing from him, because he made this excuse that there's no signal, and if he comes on the phone for like 1 second, I'm not hearing you. and burp, hang up. You can't hear from him again until when he gets some signal, as he proclaimed. As I said, finally I got through to him after 2 weeks of me not hearing from him, and I was able to now tell him that, baby, I am pregnant. He said, that was it. That's what he said. There was complete silence, to the point where I felt like I could scrape the silence from the atmosphere. Yeah. Then I said, hello. He said, yeah. What did you say? I said, yeah, I am pregnant. So I started getting anxiety because of the response. I was thinking he would be happy, as I was happy at that moment. And then he turned to me and he said, you can't keep it. Straight away, he said, you can't keep it. I said, what do you mean I can't keep it? Like, this is my baby, like we're talking about. Like, what are you talking about? I can't keep it. It's not just some random thing that I went to go purchase and then I can return it back. No, this is different. The whole baby is inside of me growing. Like, what? Then he came up with this story. He said, well, you know my culture, and I'm very cultured orientated. My families will classify that child as being a bastard child. Do you want that for your child? I would not want that for my child. I do not want that for my child. Mind you, at this point, this man made it seem as if he did not have any children. And I didn't even spot the red flag at that point. Again, I was just so naive. Oh my God. But nonetheless, thanks be to God for clarity and open eyes. I said to him, listen, it's not about what others think. I do not care. I said, and you shouldn't care either. We're going to have our first child, and this is good. All the while, he started convincing me, no, this is not good. We're not married. Because we're not married, it's going to be classified as a bastard child, and he cannot have that. And then he started to tell me about a story about himself and one of his siblings or family member who their child was classified as a bastard because they had the child out of marriage. And he said, yes, so I can't have that. So I said, okay, so let's get married then. It was like, yeah, but remember, with everything that I have going on, it's too sudden, it's too soon. And I was like, okay. I said, but I can't just do what you're telling me to do. It's not just like that. So I started getting anxious. I started crying, and I was like, this is unfair. He managed to convince me into a point where I was contemplating, because I started thinking about my own life, but he was doing it as subtle manipulation. This was where the subtle manipulation was happening. So he was manipulating me, but in a subtle way where it doesn't seem obvious that it was manipulation. He started making me think about my own future. He's saying, you said you have so much things that you want to take care of. You're almost through with university. You're almost going to be doing this. You're almost going to be doing that you said to me that you wanted to do. You won't be able to do all of these things with a child right now. Not right now. I was thinking, he's right. So I started to take into account now my own family members and thinking, okay, what they will think. Will they think this? Will they think that? Not knowing that this was all a part of the manipulation. Anyways, as I said, he managed to convince me. But as we delve deeper into the storyline, you guys will get an understanding how things progressed as it relates to me and this African politician guy. So stay tuned, guys, for volume 14, part 3. Thank you.